we go, man.
All right, so this is episode 1 of Order and Chaos. My name is Anthony Jones. I'm one of the co-hosts on this beautiful podcast, or I should say, it's probably like a video cast. And I'm here with my buddy Joel Pilka. Joel.
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here, man. This is my favorite time ever.
And
Thanks.
neither of us are Order or Chaos. It's just that's the name. So sometimes he'll be Chaos and I'll be Order. Sometimes I'll be Chaos and he'll be Order. But that's the perfect, in a nutshell, title for what we're going to be talking about on this show forever. So we got 3 topics every single episode. 3 topics that we kind of don't tell each other about, but we kind of review right before we hit record. This week we're going to talk about health because I had some health issues. I'm also going to talk about that on my podcast. The second thing that we're going to talk about is, again, what were you saying?
Rules.
Rules. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that one because we went over the 12 rules, or it was like maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah.
But we went over some rules for Joel in particular, just because I assaulted him with shit that he should be focusing on. And then the third one we're going to talk about is, like I said, like an Order and Chaos general topic. This week's general topic for Order and Chaos is going to be what is difficult and what is easy for each one of us. So we'll both kind of go into that. But let's kick it off with health. Let me start again really quick because I was saying, like, recently I've had some health issues. I've been kind of down and out for the last 2 weeks. You kind of know the story. I just had some issues with my bladder. They had to put a catheter in. If anybody knows what that's all about, you know that it sucks bad. And but it helped. It got me to a point to where I was able to refocus on some stuff. You know, when you have health issues, that's all that I put in my journal for like the last 2 weeks is, what are you grateful for? And I put good health, you know, because that really, really makes you think or makes you realize the most important. You can't even be a good father. You can't be a good husband. You can't be a good coworker. You can't work on your passion projects. You can't sit down with Joel Pilka and talk about cool shit. You can't do your podcast. You can't go to the gym, like I was saying. You can't even walk the dog if you're jacked up health-wise, you know? So that is absolutely the most important thing. And when you get kicked in the junk like this health-wise, it just gives you, you know, that refocus, and it brings it up to the forefront again, and you gotta, you know, lock it down. So like you were saying, we were talking about just changing some little shit up, like what do you drink? So I used to drink a ton of Gatorade, which had a bunch of sugar in it. It's not that bad for you, but it's got a shit ton of sugar. It's not carbonated, doesn't have any caffeine, nothing like that, but sugar is a killer. So the first thing I thought of when I had this health issue was, I got to stop drinking Gatorade and pounding sugar into my body like that. And then the next thing that hit my mind right away too, which kind of coincides with, you know, our other passion project here that we're working on, or your passion project that I'm just kind of along for the ride on, which has been awesome so far. Honestly, I wasn't expecting it to be that awesome, but it's not to drink anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm done. Like, that's it. No worries. There's no second guessing. There's no thoughts. If my bladder, and I'm having issues like that now, drinking booze is like the last thing you want to be doing. You know what I mean? So I made 2 major changes. One of them was no drinking. And I was already kind of committed to that with your program. So the timing was great anyway. And that'll give me a great head start into that transition for the rest of my life, you know? Wow. Like you said in here, like I told you, Joel, I read this shit and you were like, you know, one day turns into 1 week, turns into 1 month, turns into, you know, and it snowballs. So you have to change up your whole frame, your whole mindset and everything. So a lot of stuff you can put into perspective too. You know, you have kids, I have kids. You're not necessarily doing it for yourself sometimes. You need to be around for your kids too. You need to be around for your significant other. These people fucking depend on you. You need to be there. So that's kind of what's been going on for the last 2 weeks. I've been reassessing everything, you know, and focusing on health. Getting back to the gym again was huge for me because I had a great run going where I was going to the gym like 6 days a week, you know, doing tons of stuff for months. And then, you know, right around that New Year's resolution thing, I stopped going. And then I show back up to the gym and I'm like, all these New Year's resolution people probably think that I'm just a New Year's resolution person too. And I was like, but I've been here for a month, man.
You're like, no.
You know? Yeah. But that's what it's all about, you know, and I was super excited to get back to running, you know, like that was one of the things I was talking to my doctor about. And I know that you're all about running right now too. So it's a great segue, but
yeah, nice work.
I saw you post that you were every time you run now you're posting, which is awesome, and I love that because it motivates everybody else, or it's just like, man, I'm a slacker, I should go run it.
That's what I'm
So
hoping for, but also it's
it
accountability
works.
for me too.
It is.
You
It is. That's
know,
why Jocko Willing sends his watch picture every day at 4:30 in the morning, showing everybody like, hey, bro, you got to subscribe to him on Twitter or on Instagram,
I
dude.
don't do Twitter. Okay.
Yeah, or
Okay.
Instagram, and he'll send a picture of his watch every morning at 4:30, saying, "Get after it. I've already got the lead on your ass."
Oh, I love it, dude.
Jocko
That's
Willink, man, you will love
awesome.
it. He's notorious for doing that stuff, and it's the best. You wake up to that and you see that, and you're like, God, I'm a slacker, you know?
Hold on a minute. I want to go back to your health. So, I mean, you had a
Yeah.
catheter,
Hmm.
like, because I didn't hear from you for a couple days, and I'm not one of those guys truly, like, like when you don't show up an hour late and somebody texts you like, oh my God, I was worried. And some people are like that, but it had been a few days you hadn't replied. And I literally text Rachel on Facebook. I
Hmm.
was like, is this kid okay? Like, where is he? She's like, no, he's fine. I'll let him know to call you. He got your message. I was like, oh, no, take your time. But like, I was scared because it's not like you to like, I don't hear from you for a few days. You know what I mean? When I reach out, because we're always
Yep.
just kind of ba 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 ba. And I
Yeah,
was
just
like,
bouncing
holy
ideas off
shit,
each
dude!
other and
Like,
stuff.
where is this
Yeah.
guy? So like, it's pretty serious. Do you want to share like a minute or two about it? Like, is it serious?
Yeah.
Is there something we can learn from like what's going on? Or
For sure. It's just, I mean, honestly, it's like an old age thing, right? We all get older, and as you get older, you have to start thinking that you're that age. A lot of us like to believe that we're still in our late 20s or something, you know what I
oh,
mean?
that's so great. You're so right, because we
And
don't feel
that's
it.
all it is. You don't feel it. My body is 40, almost 43 years old, but in my mind, I'm still 22 or 23, you know what I mean? And so you go at it and you do things with that mindset, and as you get older, the price gets heavier or the price gets more expensive, and you pay that price. And then when shit goes wrong, it goes wrong. And then you wind up in the hospital, and then they're sticking a catheter in you, and then they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you, and then they're doing all these tests and throwing all these you know tubes and x-rays and cat scans and all this stuff at you to try to figure out what's wrong with you. But literally it's just old age stuff, like your prostate goes bad, your bladder starts to get weak, you have issues with your vision, not that I do, but like your vision, your hearing, like you start to even physically shrink and shit. So I mean, like, you have to take all that into account, and if you don't check yourself like right at midlife crisis age, like 40ish,
Mhm.
you're you're going to have a lot of bullshit that you're going to have to deal with once you're hitting your 50s and stuff, because that's when it's going to really really hit you hard, and
Dude.
you got to deal with that shit early. And I feel like I got lucky, like it wasn't like cancer of the bladder, or it wasn't anything crazy, where I had to go for prolonged treatments over months, or life threatening or anything like that. But you don't know that while it's going on.
Oh gosh,
And I
yeah.
had to wait 7 days to even hear what was wrong with me. And the guy was saying, obviously, it's a prostate issue. You have, there's a bladder issue. You have a bladder infection from the catheter. That's normal. But he's like, literally, the wall of your bladder is a muscle. And he's like, and if you expand that muscle too much, and it can't constrict, then you're just going to fill up with urine, and eventually you're going to have to get a catheter. So he's like, that's pretty much all that I can find out that happened to you, was you overfilled your bladder, because I had a liter of urine trapped in
Oh
my
gosh,
body.
that's remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, I think you just overextended your bladder. And it was because that night that it went down, I was at a Christmas party, drinking, fucking having a good time, overindulging. And I had like a 45-minute drive home. And you know how booze flies through you, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't going crazy to where I was like hammered and I couldn't drive, but it was just that long ass drive after having a couple beers, and all of that kind of happening at once. And you're just old and shit doesn't work as good. Then next thing you know, you're in the freaking emergency room. But I tied it back to booze. Like, it was one of those things where, you know, if I wasn't doing what I was doing, would that have happened? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had that much fluid running through me. So I was just like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
And
There's
that
no way that I could say that it's worth it.
there's no way that was just like it happened that night. It had to have been years.
Yes,
You know what I
something
mean?
was
So
probably
that you're
leading up to that. Yeah.
leading up to, it's like the seal, you know, on like a gasket or whatever, on the seal,
Yep.
like
Just gets
just
weak.
one
Hmm.
side peeling, you know. Dude,
That's
that's so
old age,
crazy.
baby.
It's old age. It's like I had posted today in my run, and it was, I felt like I was so proud of it, because totally from Jordan Peterson, but how he says, you know, there's some parts when he's like, you have to think about, there's 3 yous, but right now you just think about the present you, like what's good for you
Hmm.
now, and then think about
Yep.
the future you. If you're doing what's good for you now and what's good for you later, then
Future you. Yeah.
that's like the thing you need to like pay attention to, because if it's good for you now and it's good for you then it's going to be the overall good. And
Yeah.
we know that, like, we know things are going to catch up with us, and we know
Yep.
we'll make adjustments at some point, but it's helped me to think about the future me now and what he would tell me, right? Like, what would
Yep.
you tell your 20-year-old self? Well, what would my
Yes.
60-year-old self tell my 43-year-old self? And then do that, you
Well,
know.
that's kind of what that future authoring program, or
I
that
haven't
self-authoring
started it.
program, that's what that is. He goes through all that,
Don't tell me,
and
don't tell me, don't
and he
tell me.
basically makes you write a future letter to your current self where everything went perfect and you made all these good choices, and here's what it's like 10 years from now. Then you have to write a letter to yourself where you fucked up royally, and here's now what you live in. And it's like the shit of the shit. You know, he's like, think absolute worst case scenario, go. And
Wow, I
mine was
can't
so
wait.
bad, I can't even read it back without crying my eyes out.
Yeah, because you're a super creative person, and I'm sure you could dream up the hell of
Oh,
all hells.
the hell of all hells, right? And I'm reading this back, and I'm like in fucking tears. Like, my kids abandoned me. My wife left
Don't
me.
even. I
I'm a
have to do
drug
this.
addict. Yeah, it's dude. I'm getting the chills thinking about it. But it's like one of those deals where like you have to like face the fucking
Let me ask you this then.
mirror.
Were you afraid to write or say things for fear of self-fulfilling prophecy? Like, were you afraid to go too deep?
No, no,
Because
I
your
actually
kids
embraced it.
abandoning you is one thing, but your kids maybe expiring is another thing.
Or no doubt about it. Like, that is definitely one of my deepest fears, is one of my kids dying or something like that, right? Like, I can't even imagine that shit. And I have a friend that's going through it that was on the podcast, and his son, has a limited amount of time just based on the disease that he has. And I can't even imagine what he's going through. And I talk to that dude every day, and I hang out with him all the time. He's one of my fishing buddies, right? We go on trips and shit together all over the United States. And the dude is the most positive, like, nicest fucking dude of all time. And I'm like, how are you like this? And he goes, Jones, he goes, don't get me wrong. He goes, when this diagnosis came through and they said my son wouldn't see his 7th birthday, I literally had the fucking vision in my head of taking him down to the river, offing him and offing myself. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, you hear that type of stuff and you're like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I've been through the darkness. I went to the deepest parts of the dark that you can go to when you get this type of diagnosis for your son. He's like, my at the time he was like 4 years old, and they're like, he won't see his 7th birthday. You hear that shit, and where else are you going to go besides the deepest fucking pits of hell?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
but shit like that, like you said, I embraced it though, because I knew that was the point. So
yeah.
I embraced it, and I was like, I want to do this right. The only person that's reading this right now is me. So if I'm going to sit here and lie to this piece of paper or on the computer on the screen, then I'm just lying to myself, and it's not going to be worth my time. So let's do this.
Yeah.
I did it right.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to evoke the emotion, or it's not going to change you,
No. That's why
totally.
a lot of people wait until they have that health problem, like myself, like even your story, because I read your story on No Booze, and how you had health issues as well. And maybe it's not an overnight thing. Nobody needs to get me wrong or confuse what I'm saying here. It's a gradual process, but because of that health issue, it just puts that in the forefront,
Yeah.
and it's staring you in the face, going, now what are you going to do? And some
Well,
people run from that shit, and they're like, I'm out of here. I'm going to go back to what I was doing and just ignore you. And other people will face that Grim Reaper and stare him right in the face and say, it's not my time. You need to go find something else to do for a while.
that's funny, because that's been something that's helped me. Look at that thing in the background.
What you got?
It's us, like through the window.
Oh, It's all good. I was staring at it when you went to go get a drink.
Oh,
I was like,
it's it sucks because well, no, it's good because that is what helped me overcome anxiety. You know, I think I had mentioned to you
interesting.
back when Jenny was like, have you ever tried just saying, like, she's like, how do you feel? Like, you feel like you're going to die? She's like, what if you just embrace it? What if you're just like, then bring it? If I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
die, then fucking bring it
Yeah,
and
I'm ready
just
to go.
be ready. And so then I started, and then I had said that a few times and I had done that a few times and it helped. And I was like, fine, bring on that anxiety. If I think I'm going to die, then fine, have the heart attack right now. Like, come on.
Yeah.
All right, God, I'm okay with it. Even though I
Bring the fucking
wasn't, and I was
storm in,
scared.
man.
Like I was
Yeah.
scared, right? You know, it's kind of like Forrest Gump when he goes up the thing and he's like, or Lieutenant Dan, and he just jumps in. He's like, bring it, come on, come on. And then he doesn't
Yeah.
die. And he's like, well, then let's make peace with this, right? And he comes back.
Yeah.
And I just came to that now. And
I love that
that's
stuff.
what it got to me. And it was like, you know what? Then fine, then come on. And it's like,
Yep.
even though part of me was like, but don't, because I'm
Yeah.
scared, because I'm scared.
Yeah.
But it got me through that. And I think that's such a great way to do it, is just dive head into it. You know, what sucks is with my story is, okay, I had that cancer thing and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you should have said, I got the diagnosis. And the next weekend we went to a wedding in Tahoe
Mm-hmm.
and I fucking lost it. I was hammered. And I had been to this casino in Lake Tahoe. Is my favorite place in Tahoe because the only time I ever won, I won like $14,000 that weekend
Oh,
gambling. I
nice.
couldn't lose. I couldn't lose. I
That's
walked up to
awesome.
roulette. I put $100 on Black 13.
Boom.
Boom. I did it again. Boom. I played. I
That's
couldn't
awesome.
lose. I couldn't lose. And so I was so drunk and out of my mind. And everybody, and it was Jenny's family's wedding, and they knew what had happened. And they're all doctors, and a couple guys sat me down, and they knew I was getting self-destructive. But
Of
then that was
course.
kind of like, kind of the end of it. And that it was leading to the end of it. But I feel bad with my story in this No Boost 30 because I feel like it might have been, it wasn't easy for me, but I felt like I had such motivation. And some people haven't had that change yet besides,
Yes.
but now that I say it out loud, they have had that change because it's been decades of not fulfilling their dreams or not
Whatever.
living
Yeah.
up to their
Mm-hmm.
potential. And so
Sure.
sometimes I'm like, I feel like if somebody reads it, they're going to make, oh, well, he had cancer and he almost had cancer again and he had his colon taken out. So of course he's
Of
not going to.
course. Yeah.
But it's like, I stopped drinking 5 years before I had my colon taken out,
That's awesome.
And so it's like, I kind of feel like my story is discounted sometimes and I shouldn't feel that way,
No, I don't think you should either. And I agree
It's
with
like,
you. I think that everybody has had a wake up call or 10, but like a lot of them ignore it until, like I said, until that grim reaper walks in the room and is staring you in the face.
or they're in
And like you
jail,
said, yeah, or something
get a
crazy like that.
DUI and you're like sitting in the drunk tank and you're like, fuck.
Well, this is the type of things that you're going to write in that self-authoring thing where you're like, yeah, I'm addicted. I lost my job because of, DUI. I'm addicted to, drugs. I have, nobody left. I live in, with a friend in their basement or some shit. You have to, like realize that there's potential there unless you do some serious changing and some serious thinking.
I mean,
And if you don't ever think about that shit, of course you can live your whole entire life in ignorance and just continue to be self-destructive, like you said. And
yeah.
one day you're going to die anyway. And a lot of people just are like, okay with that. But like you said, if they just took a couple of minutes to sit down, look in the mirror and say, this is what I want. This is who I am. This is what I need to do in order to get there. Like just answer those 3 questions and you could probably change your life. But most people won't take that time to sit in front of that mirror because American Idol's on, or they have to do the laundry, or they have to go to Target, or they have to put their kids to bed, or they have to, do some other bullshit for work,
Well, then they're
or they
tired.
have to,
Yeah.
and then they're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow, like you said, turns into next week, turns into next month, turns into 30 years. Then you're 60 years old and you're like, man, I have a ton of regrets. And you're like, why do I have those regrets? Well, because I didn't do all the things that I wanted to do necessarily. And then you can't unwind that. It's already too late at that point. Yeah, you could probably do some of them, like play the piano, or you could, but you're not climbing fucking Mount
Travel, write a
Everest.
book. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Well, you
you're
could,
not, you
you know what
could.
I
But I
mean?
mean,
Like, You
it's a
could.
lot more difficult when you wait until you retire to figure all this shit out.
I mean,
I
yeah,
wish I would have figured it out at 30, for Christ's
I
sake.
know. And that's the fucking thing. Like I was running the other day, and which is funny to say. And I was thinking about my buddy who ran the Chicago Marathon, and I was still living in Chicago, and I was probably 30. I was probably, I don't know, 25 or something like that, because I had met Jenny
Sure.
at 26, and I went to support him, and I couldn't find him at the finish line, and I wanted to call him to let him know, did you know that I was there that day? But I never did. Like I think I may have told him, later, but I
Oh, so he
thought,
knows though.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
hope, and I thought he may have figured it out then, because he had his goal on the marathon. Like he was setting
Hmm.
these goals, and now I'm setting this marathon goal, and it's like, and this triathlon goal and this Ironman goal, like I'm going to do all this stuff. And it was like, he did it 10 years ago. And I know how hard it is at 43. Think about how hard it'll be at
Hmm.
63 to start
Oh
getting
God.
outside and trying to start jogging with another maybe 15, whatever pounds on you. Speaking
Right.
about health, I'm going to transition to, we had our, and thank you for sharing that stuff. Cause I mean, I think
Yeah, man.
it's great for people to hear, like, I mean, random bladder
Out of nowhere.
what, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And luckily it wasn't anything crazy, even more serious. It might sound
exactly.
serious to some, but you know,
I
uh,
got news for you. It's not fun having a gigantic tube jammed into the most sensitive part of your body and then having to, walk around with that thing, because I'm telling you right now, it doesn't sit still, like everything's moving around. So every time I moved, it literally felt like somebody was jamming freaking needles into my family jewels. You know what I mean? It was, or at least for the first 2 days. After then, I got a little bit used to it, but it was not fun. So I mean, like when you have something like that happen to you, you have no choice but to reassess some shit at least.
so would you have to just like empty this bag into the toilet or whatever?
So it was attached like all the way down on my leg here, like because the cable ran all the way down, and the bag was like by my knee here,
Oh,
and
okay.
because it has to be below your junk in order for it to
Sure.
drain
For
right,
it to, yeah, yeah.
So I'd have to, I just took my pants off, and there was a hose with like a clip attachment down here.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I would just put my foot up on the toilet, and I would just clip this hose, and the bag would drain into the bathroom. But it's so weird because the last time I was allowed to piss myself was probably when I was 5 years old. So like the first hurdle you have to overcome with this catheter is like just just pee your pants,
It's like peeing in
just
the
let it go.
pool, or like
Yeah,
when you're in the lake. It's
just
like
let it
kind of
go.
weird at first,
Yeah,
because
you
like your
can't do
body
it.
can't
Yeah,
do
you
it.
can't figure it out. Right. So I was just like, stop holding it. You just go. So like it was just really fucking weird. And I'm like, dude, every person that came into my room, they're like, 40 fucking two. You're way too young for this shit. And I'm like, tell
They
me
said
about it,
that
dude.
same shit for me with the colon. They're like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "You're making me really feel bad. Not feel bad, but like getting even more nervous, because most people are 60 when
Yeah.
they come in with
Yes. Well,
this
he
colon
pointed that
stuff."
he points to this guy out. He's like, most guys are like that. And some guy's walking past with like a fucking walker, and he looked like he was 78. I'm just like,
Well,
yeah.
that's where I'm headed. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm like, eh.
No, that's
So what's it?
crazy.
What's the diagnosis, doc?
Yeah.
Like,
You're like, well, what's he
get me
got?
out of
I'll go
here.
talk to him
Yeah,
or what? No, but
yeah.
that makes you think about second opinions, because I really didn't get any, because Mayo Clinic was like, and
No, that's the
I
top of
love
the
Mayo
top.
Clinic. I mean, they're the top
Yeah.
of the top, but I didn't really get any. And my buddy back home is a pharma rep, and he's like, hey, there's this guy at University of Chicago that's like the best GI guy. You should fly here. You should get
Sure.
a second opinion. And I didn't, because I was, it's too late. I got the surgery in 3 weeks. It's on the books, whatever. And then I say to you that, like, we think, even, and I was at the guy that got that was treating me even for my ulcerative colitis was the
Yeah.
I don't want to say any names, but he's like the
Yeah. Yeah. No
division,
worries.
he's like the division chief, like, so to speak. So he's like the head
High up
guy of
there.
the
Mm-hmm.
department. And it was like, so I felt comfortable there, but he misses things too, and he's a human
Of
being.
course.
And so even
Yeah.
though we think we're getting like the best advice, maybe we're not. Like, maybe we should go get 2, 3, 4, 5 opinions.
Oh,
um
for sure. For
and
sure.
I
For sure.
didn't. And could I have kept, my stuff? Maybe, but they scared me. They're like, look, there's no messing around with this. If it goes to cancer, which is the next stage, they're like,
Yeah.
then all these new protocols you're gonna have to do. Maybe you have to do radiation. You may have to do
Yeah.
chemo. But if you get it
Chemo.
out of
Yep.
there before it gets there, you won't have to deal with that. And this is what we recommend. So, but I just thought, next time, second opinions, but anyway.
There will be a next time too, man. We're both
You're
still
right.
young, and we're both
You're
going to
right.
have more bullshit that we're going to have to deal with coming down the pipe, especially nowadays with the
Coming down
statistics
the
and all the
pipe.
crap. Yeah, no pun intended. But
It's
yeah, so I
humbling,
think
isn't
that,
it? I
oh,
mean,
dude,
when I look
I've
at
been
this
in the
bag,
hospital too many times in the last year and a half, 2 years, man.
yeah, I feel like I've been hearing that, man. I mean,
4 times I've been in the hospital, at least the emergency room. And one of them was I had really bad flu. Another one was flu again. Another one was I don't even know. We think it's food poisoning. They didn't find anything wrong with me. They ran every test in the book, of course. Maybe I was allergic to something, because usually when I would have this happen to me before, it was an allergy. So I didn't know. So they didn't find it. That was just this past November. And then again, December 21st or whatever it was, I was in there again.
I remember
So
you
it's four
saying that,
times.
about like the flu or something with you, and how, you get into the ED, a couple times a year. What's been interesting, well, I'm not going to talk about it right now. I mean, it's kind of health related, but I think it'll come back down
Sure.
in a little bit. Yeah, man, the health stuff, I think the future you has been helping me make the right decision in the moment. Like the other day when I wanted to stop running at the 3 mile mark and I pushed to 3:75, it was like, what would future Joel tell you, man? He would say, run that extra 7.5, 0.75, like run it, man.
Yeah.
You can do it. You're just getting uncomfortable, and it's 7 o'clock, or it's whatever time it was. It was 6 o'clock, and I know you need to get showered and you need to get to work, but like, come on, man. And then I did it, and I said, how proud you will be if you finish
Mm-hmm.
this. And I was so proud of myself. And it was like, I want that. The words of my mom, I remember when I quit baseball in high school because my dad had, just passed. And I was like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go to college and play ball. We only have a couple months left. Like Menick, I was just like, I'm out. And he's like, are you
Mm-hmm.
sure? My mom's like, don't do this, Joel. She's like, because, you don't want a habit of quitting. And if you start quitting now, you're going to quit. It's going to be a thing. And I was like, no, it's not. This is just a thing. But she was right. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like, she was right. And it's not, I don't think it's like the act of quitting, but yeah, it's like this letting
It's
yourself
hitting the
off the
easy
hook.
button.
It's
Yeah,
hitting
hitting
the
the easy
easy
button.
button. And it's
Yeah.
like not waking up early and then not going to class. And it's easy just to let
Yes.
yourself off the hook,
And then once it goes good too, you're like, oh, that kind of worked. I'll definitely
Wasn't a
use
big
that again
deal.
at some
Yeah,
point.
I
Yeah,
can
it didn't
use
know
that.
I didn't hurt nobody. Yeah,
And then you
I didn't
turn
hurt no.
18, 19, 20, and you
Yes.
answer to yourself. And so you're like,
Yes.
well, what do I want to do? I'm going to live my life like this. I'm going to give myself a break. I've been listening
Yeah.
to people for 18 years now. I'm going to do what
I'm
I
gonna
want
do
to
what
do
I
now.
want. Yep,
But,
exactly.
well, I'm glad you're feeling
That's a
better,
hard
man.
thing. Yeah, that's a hard thing to overcome though, dude. And that's why, like we talked about like my quote unquote story a while ago, but that's why I started doing Spartan races and shit, was just to put, like I told you on your post, I commented on your Instagram and I said, to put that inner bitch in check,
Yeah,
and then
that's right.
it's just like when your mind is like, yeah, you're good, dude, you're good, just stop. And you're like, no, no, no. I know I see. And another thing I was going to tell you about running too is like, I never set a goal. Like I'm never saying I'm going to run 3 miles today. I just start running. And if it's like a shitty day and my knees hurt or something, I'll try to power through it to like 2K. But then if it still hurts, I'll back off and stop. And then I'll just go, cool down and just relax, because I don't want to hurt myself. But
yeah, but I
if I
think you need to
start
have a
running,
goal though, right? Because you need to know like when you reach the goal. But if you're not, if you have to listen to your body, and if your body's saying like your
yes,
physical, like my knee started hurting when I
yes,
went out, and I was like, okay, this doesn't feel like it's an injury. It just feels like it's gonna tweak out,
discomfort.
it's gonna go
Yeah,
away, and in about a
yep,
couple minutes it went away. But if
right. Yeah,
not,
I
I
get
would have
those
backed
too.
down. Like I would
Yes,
have,
I get those too.
But
Yep,
so you don't
I
put a
follow you.
goal on it. Like you don't put a 3
No,
on it, or a 4 or 5 or whatever mile is gonna
because
be.
on good days I want to do 5, and if I have, and it's kind of like what you said. If I say 3, when I get close to 3, I'm already starting to kind of back it down. You know what I mean?
True.
Like
It's
I'm already starting
true.
to come off of that high, and I'm starting to get ready for the transition from running into cooling down.
You're
So
right.
and I start to like reach to the finish line instead of just keeping the same pace and just running. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, you're so right. I listened to that coach on the Nike Run app, and he's like,
Yeah.
look, he goes, because I did a 5K tonight, and he goes, because I wanted to do three miles, but none of the guided ones said 3 miles. It just said 5K. I was like, fine. It's
That's why I use Ks too.
Yeah, I'm like, let's do a 5K. And so I did it. And he's like, hey, you're in the third quarter right now. Because I was like 2K in or something like that. And he's like, you're in the third quarter right now. And a lot of people like black out. They zone out. And they just kind of like sit into it. And they're not paying attention. And they kind of coast through, which is, I get it if you're just like, but he's like, pay attention. He's like, don't do that. Focus on your, just focus on your posture or something, which makes
breathing.
Which makes me realize I don't even know if I know how to run.
No, I that was one of the first things.
Am I pumping? Do I relax? I like literally don't know.
Terrific fucking question or a terrific comment, because I know for a fact that I don't know how to run correctly. And I looked it up, and there's this thing, what the hell is it called? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's this running style where I tried it out and it works, where they teach you how to rerun, and it's about leaning forward.
Yeah.
What the hell is it called? It's a method, like the blank running method.
Okay.
God. But anyway, like I said, so you're actually using gravity to pull you forward, and you're just moving your legs in order to stay up.
So you don't fall.
You're not using your legs.
Yeah.
You're leaning into it and allowing gravity to pull you forward. That's the best way I can explain it. And you never heel strike. You always go from toe to toe to toe. That's why they say like zero drop shoes are the best you can wear for running, because they force you up on your toes. When you wear like Nike running shoes and shit, even my running shoes, there's a gigantic drop. So like my foot in the shoe is sitting like this, and this is all material.
Yeah.
So I'm actually up. But what that does is it creates a perfect spot for you to heel strike because of all that padding.
Yeah.
And then you roll your foot forward when you run. That's not right. You're supposed to run toe to toe to toe. Like every runner always runs on their toes, like you see in the Olympics.
Jogging, that's when you're sprinting though, right?
Even joggers. And you know what? I could probably find that running method, but that's what that running method was saying too.
Well, why don't we put a clip in the show notes after?
For sure. I'll find it afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's funny because I'm like, at the end of it, he's like, okay, you got 800 meters left. He's like, I want you to push, but here's how we're going to do it. He's like, each like 200 meters, I'm going to give you something else to focus on. So the first one is like, focus on your breath. And the next one is like, then he was like something about posture. And he said, just lean a little bit forward. So I started leaning a bit forward. And I don't know if my hips are supposed to be like underneath me, but when I push my butt out a little bit and I lean forward, it's like all of a sudden you're just like,
you're just on autopilot. That's just like exactly what I'm talking about.
But then I started like, okay, and then he's like, use your arms. He's like, so I started pumping. I was like, oh my God, there's this whole other like mechanism that can propel me and kind of give my legs a break a little bit.
Yes.
But I know in my mind from all my rollerblading days, if I can just put my legs on lock and I can relax enough to breathe and stay at a tempo, I could go for days.
For days, exactly. That's exactly what I do on the treadmill at the gym. Is I just hit start, and then I'll pick up the pace too. So like I'll start at like 5 miles an hour, and then I'll gradually pick it up to like 6.5 miles an hour.
Nice.
And like you said, by that time I can like look around. I'm not even breathing heavy anymore. I'm looking around. There's like a bunch of TVs up here. There's like a basketball court thing going on over here. I'm listening to a podcast or something, and it's like I'm good to go. Like it's no worries. I can just keep running. And then eventually I'll hit my phone, because I'll have my phone in front of me, and I'll hit the screen and just see what time it is, and I'll go, oh shit, I gotta stop, and I don't care where I'm at. I'll just be like, hey, I'm good to go. What did I run? 3K, 3.5K? Good, perfect. Okay, so as long as it's more than 2, So then I'm good to go. I turn my shit off. I clean the machine up, and I start cooling down and doing stuff like that, like stretching and everything.
Yeah.
And then the next day I might run half that, and like just a little bit over 2K, or something along those lines. But I usually don't run back-to-back days. Like I'll do kettlebells. I'll do an off day where I just stretch and hit the hot tub, the steam room. I'll walk too, because kettlebells usually kick my ass to where I'm really sore.
Yeah.
and just do something easy. Then the next day I'll run again, so I'll have like at least 2 or 3 running days a week, I would say.
Yeah,
And
good.
then I'll have one kettlebell day, one recovery day, and then one day where like Rachel will get to call, like, she has this app that she's using, the Peloton
Oh,
bike and all
Jenny,
that
yeah,
shit,
Jenny's using that right now. Yeah.
the Peloton app. So she
Oh,
uses that and she'll be like, hey, let's do this yoga one, or let's do this
yeah.
meditation one. They have a meditation thing there. And
That's
I
what
was
she
like,
was
for
telling
sure.
me.
I haven't done the meditation one
Me
yet, but
neither.
she showed it to me and I'm like, dude, I definitely want to check that out, because ironically enough, your day 7 or 8, I can't remember which one it was. I think it's 8. Yeah, 8 was meditation, right?
Well, see, here's the thing. When did you print that?
I printed it off the one that you sent me right as the thing started.
Oh, so like let me see it. So, whoa.
So this one's day 8
Oh, yeah,
emotion.
okay, you got it. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got it. Okay.
yeah, and
Um,
then you talk about,
I
I
talk
think it
about
was in
lizard
here.
brain probably, and
Yeah,
like,
or maybe it was on the next page, the exercise. Yeah,
yeah, it's
on
the
the exercise
exercise.
is meditation.
Yeah.
So for real, that's, and what's funny is the way you explained meditation in that page is exactly how I explain meditation to everybody else. I
Nice.
say, you pretty much just sit there and there's going to be a shit ton of noise. And this is going to be super hard for you. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not fucking easy. And it's going to take weeks. It's not going to happen in a week or a couple days. This is going to take weeks, if not months. And you're going to close your eyes and there's going to be so much fucking noise. Like, you got this meeting in an hour. You got to go pick up the kids after that. Then you have to go to the grocery store because we need to get these bratwursts to make dinner at 5. Then after 5 o'clock, I'm going to go run for a little bit. And there's going to be like, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have all this noise jumping into your head. And all you have to do is just quiet it down and just say, okay, and then turn it all down, like fucking a volume slider. And I always tell people, the first thing that you need to do in order to turn the noise down is focus on a single white dot. In your visual plane with your eyes closed, there's going to be so much shit that's going on. I just want you to focus and see the single white dot. There's a single white dot in the middle of your vision field in this black abyss when you have your eyes closed and
Yeah.
you're conscious. Find the dot. The dot will start to drift off into the corners.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to want to chase it with your eyes, but don't chase it. Let it go. It'll always come back to the middle. Once you can center
Nice.
that dot without it moving, then things will start to enter your mind one at a time. Like, I'm hungry, or I'm uncomfortable. It'll usually be some sort of complaint,
Mm.
and then you just have to go, okay, I'm hungry. Okay, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But don't move.
Yeah.
Don't acquiesce to that complaint and get up
Don't
and get a
start thinking
snack.
about what you're gonna eat or what. Yeah.
Yes, just let it go. Just let it drift off into from right to left, left to right, top to bottom. However the message is, for me, it comes in on my right-hand side and goes out the left-hand side. That's how it works for me. Never top down, never left to right. It's always right to left. I don't know why. There's probably some significance there. But like I said, the white dot is my first move. Sometimes the white dot will turn into a flashlight. Sometimes it'll turn into a baseball. Sometimes it'll
Wow.
turn into a snowball. Sometimes it'll turn into, objects. And at
Wow.
that point, I just have to say, oh, it's a baseball. But that's it. You can't say anything else about it. Just identify it and then watch it morph into something else, or watch it move, and then don't track it, because if you try to track it, it runs faster away from you.
Yeah.
And then you get distracted and you lose your spot. But I explain meditation the same way to people: is it's turning off all the noise, and then the important shit will find its way back through, and then you can actually go, okay, these 3 things are the important things that I got out of my meditation session. Then you're conscious again, like we are now, and then you say, oh, why did that hunger thing come in here? And it could be something simple as just flesh maintenance. I'm fucking hungry. Or
Yeah.
it could be something like um, something deeper rooted. And if you think about something like you said, something really bad, like your child dying, or like something like you getting a cancer, or something like that, maybe there's some significance there that you need to mine. So you just write those themes down, then you can deep think about those things. It's so fucking awesome. And I don't do it enough. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like, I want to do it more, but I don't know why I don't do it more. I should do it every day and make like put it on schedule, but then it almost feels forced to me. I don't know.
No,
I
it's
don't know.
not. And you know what? If you like, so I use it as almost a nap time. It's my nap time. And I almost have it where it's like, it seems to be about 2 o'clock in my day. And we have wellness rooms at work where they have little
Nice.
recliners, and you lock the door and you turn the lights off and they're fucking
Oh,
ice
dude,
cold.
that's awesome.
And I kick back in the recliner. I go 20 minutes on my timer, and
Yeah, I set a timer too.
I hit my
Yep.
and I usually do a guided meditation that only guides you for like the first 5 minutes. And then it's just like, ambient music. But,
Hmm.
um, but for some reason at 2 o'clock, it fits my day. And then I can jam from like 2:30 to 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
5:30 at work, and then come home and be good. And it gives me, and so sometimes I nap, sometimes I don't. And I think that's why I want to add I didn't realize till we were on just doing this, that I'm going to add a second one, because first of all, you should be napping every day. So just do it around your nap time.
Hmm.
If you do nap, but now I want it because I do nap a lot of times during that time,
Hmm.
and I still want a meditation and a nap. And so
Yeah.
now I see why Seinfeld and these guys that do transcendental, which I
Yeah.
can't stand, that you have to like pay somebody to teach you,
Yeah. It's so
drives
weird.
me
I
insane.
was looking
Oh,
into it too, and I couldn't understand what the
you
deal
have to
was. But
go
go
to
on,
some
keep going.
class. And so
Yeah.
now I see, I think maybe why they do it in the morning, because people have told me if you do 20 minutes, 2 20-minute sessions, you really see the benefit. And I bet it's because early in the day, right when they wake up and they do the meditation,
Just
that's
writing shit down.
meditation. But I bet the second one is more of a nap. And I bet you they come to the conclusion that they're not getting a full meditation benefit because they are napping a lot of times in the afternoon. Because he'll say, yeah, I meditate twice a day and my energy is amazing. Well, it's because the second time you have to be napping. He has to be. He's 20 years older than I am. If I'm
Yeah,
tired, he's tired. And
for
I have
sure.
pretty good energy. So it's like, so I'm going to start implementing that. I get super creative in my meditations, man. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? The ideas are flowing that I just am like, this is just going to be a creativity meditation. And I go
Hmm.
with it. I go down the
Yeah.
rabbit holes, and then
Well,
I'll
right.
get,
You can't block either. That
you
doesn't
can't,
work either.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can't block. And so like, I wanted to touch on what you said, because you let it come in. Hey, I'm hungry. Okay, I'll deal with it later, or I'm hungry, or whatever. And you allow it to go. Sometimes
Yep.
you catch yourself down that rabbit hole, and then you put, wait, and you pull
Right. You'll
yourself back
follow it.
out.
Your eyes will literally follow it.
It's so
Yeah.
funny that you say that. It's like the squiggly line.
Yeah.
Squiggly
But
line, then
your
you
eyes
go,
are
it's like,
not really moving. Yeah.
you know,
It's like one of those deals, but in your mind, you're following this thing. And it's almost like you said, it almost goes down. And you're like trying to look to see like what does that mean?
it's
And you're like, no, no,
crazy.
no, you're losing that.
I had never seen it before until I love that you walked me through it. And then all of a sudden I could like see that when I look forward, there's like these two white lines like pointing
Yep.
in, and I could
Yeah.
see this focus. And then it did start going like this. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
and then you were calling it. That was really cool. I'm going to use that. I've thought about that. So a lot of times I'll let my eyes go back, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
pull this back, but I let my eyes go back. But I know if I purposely try to look straight ahead with my eyes closed, it does center me.
Yep.
It does center me, and I've done that. I've tested with that before, but
That's why I do the white dot to start. It's
that's
just to
really
center
cool.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good idea. I
Yep.
started 5 minutes at a time, sitting
Same
Indian
with me.
style in front
Probably
of
two. Yeah.
a picture window with no music. I was living in Nebraska, just quiet.
That's
And it
awesome.
got to the point where literally, and it's still to this day, I like know when the alarm's going to go off. Even though,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if I'm like not even thinking about time, I'm like, oh, it's going to
Yep.
go off any second. And you look and it's like 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. I'm
Crazy
usually
that your
within
body
20
knows that.
seconds.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about
I'm
20
usually within
seconds.
20
Now,
seconds. Yeah.
sometimes I'm off, but like the majority of the time, my body knows. Like
Oh yeah.
it's
It's
like
super
knows.
weird. And I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot more to that than you think too, because I think your body and like your energy is a lot more in tune than you think. You know
See,
what I mean?
Payne loves the ocean, and he loves the sharks and all that stuff. And we were
Sure.
watching a bunch of sharks, and how they, of the electro thing that the sharks
Yeah.
do, and the dolphins, and
Mm-hmm.
how they all talk,
Yeah.
and like all that stuff. Like, we have to have some of that stuff,
Oh,
the
100%.
intuition and the energy and all that. You know what I thought today was, I don't believe I didn't think of this before, but you know how we find dinosaur fossils, right?
Yep.
And under all this dirt, and then they'll find civilizations under like 30 feet of like soot,
Sure.
right, or dirt or whatever.
Even crazier, like 130 or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
which is funny to me because how come that's not still happening? If anything, everything's eroding, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
But think about the crazy shit in the ocean under thousands of feet of
Feet of
crap
water.
that we have
Yeah.
on the bottom of the ocean, under the bottom of the dirt in the ocean that we've never even seen
Well,
because
right.
it's dead, because the
Yeah.
fossils like under the ocean of
Yeah,
shit
there's probably wild shit
that
down
went
there.
extinct
A
millions of years
million,
ago.
yeah, a million years
And
ago.
just
Yeah.
because it's not swimming around, we didn't even know about it. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
man.
never thought about that. All those animals that have lived one day and died under the ocean
Or what
on
if
the
that was
floor.
land at one point too? You know, there that could have been
Sure.
land at one point. There's a ton of stuff that you could go down that rabbit hole hardcore.
Yeah, I just thought about that when I was like, Jenny, oh my God, I just thought of something. But I know that was off topic. So
No worries.
um,
That was good stuff. We were talking about meditation, which is kind of did we talk about meditation when we were doing those rules?
I don't know. You may have brought it up, and I threw the rules thing out there right off the cuff, and I don't have my notebook with me, and I don't want to go chase it. I don't want to go
Yeah, it's
chase
all
it.
good. Let's
Because
just keep talking about meditation for a little bit longer then, and that'll be our number 2.
okay, that works.
Yeah,
But
because that's the day of no booze, so it's kind of tying in the no booze. It's super important because, like you said, it kind of ties into what I was talking about too when I showed you this book earlier.
yeah.
Just because Jung is all about the conscious and the unconscious,
So
and
what's the book
he
for
it's
everybody?
called A Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung, and it's just about dream interpretation. A lot of his stuff is dream interpretation, just like Freud was too, and they talk about how important it is for you to deal with your consciousness and your unconscious, and kind of maturity is the melding of both of those. So accepting your unconscious and knowing your conscious, and in kind of meshing the two together, because a lot of people are all about facts, and like I went to school, I know math, I've read books, I go to work. I don't have time to be reading dream journals and trying to interpret why I was running in place in a dream. That's just a dream. It doesn't mean shit. Or witches and wizards, and all that mysticism and pagan shit from the past, that didn't mean shit. That was just people that didn't understand because there was no science back then. If they had science back then, they wouldn't have been fucking sacrificing rabbits to the gods and shit. They're just stupid. But maybe they weren't. Maybe there was something else there that we completely lost and we've completely forgotten. And it ties into what you were just saying with the energy, or with like just the past in general, finding old shit like you were saying, recognizing that there was something to that. These people held it like in such high regard. It was their god for a lot of these cultures and civilizations, and they were willing to do crazy shit. Like in some cultures, people would be like, yeah, no worries, man, you can sacrifice me for the betterment of the entire village, I'll do it. And it was no big deal, and they were actually like proud to be that person. So they'd go up and get their heads fucking cut off so that they could appease this energy. Whatever they wanted to explain it, and how they wrote it down was whatever it was. But I mean, like, it was that crazy important that people were like willing to be like, yeah, no problem, you can kill me, that's cool.
Yeah, that's
That's
insane.
nuts. There's
Yeah.
something to that. That's not just some like Charles Manson shit. That's not just like David Koresh shit. That's like another level. There's something else going on there, or they know something,
Yeah,
and
dude.
we've completely got science. If 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, and I can't see it, in molecular biological terms, then it's fucking stupid.
Well, dude, that's like, yeah, you're right. Two things. For one, okay, before I go to the second point, was like the sacrifice and stuff like that. Somebody was
Hmm.
actually telling me at work today that there's the library at Alexandria that like burned down like
Yeah.
however long ago, like
Yep.
set us back like 1,000 years because of all the
Yeah, that's what they
information
say
and
at
shit that was
Disney.
like in there.
Yeah.
Really, she was telling
Hmm.
me at work this, and that like kind of blew my mind, and
Oh
there
yeah,
are things
big
like
time.
that. But then you start talking about sacrifice. So when we went to the Grand Canyon, we stopped along the side of the road. There's Montezuma's castle.
Sure.
And what it is, I've always wanted to see one of these. And it's not like the elaborate, like, how there's like those cities built like into the wall, where you see like those Pueblo cities where it's like, It's like a civilization that like in the side of a mountain, they like carved like a
Yes.
building, right?
Yep.
So there's one of those, and it was like 40 rooms, and it was this farming community. And so it was like this wall, and the people lived up there, and they had these big ladders that they had to climb up to
get to
build
them,
it and
bro.
to live up there. And I thought,
Yeah.
oh shit, whoever was selling ladders made a fortune back then. That was my joke.
Yeah.
And but they lived up in the wall, and down below was the farmland, and it was kind of like, you know, you could see it was marshy, so whatever. And they lived up in the wall. And I just turned to my buddy, and there was like a mock-up, and it had like, you know, little figurines like in them. They said, this is what it probably would have looked like with the people
Look like,
actually in
yeah.
it. And I thought, yeah, there was a little guy and like a kid up there, and I was like, yeah. And they would sacrifice people right off the top of that cliff.
Yes, guaranteed.
Like, throw them off, you know?
Otherwise, their shit wouldn't grow, and they'd all starve, dude, because they've already played that game. You know what I mean?
They played that game, right?
Yeah, and every time they've made the proper sacrifices. But, you know, in this book, like I said, a lot of the times he says that some of those sacrifices might not have been actual sacrifices, but almost like man and his symbols. Like I said, that's the name of the book. It's almost symbolic of you sacrificing like your dependence on your parents, sacrificing your immaturity, sacrificing your addiction to the unconscious. Because like when you're a child, it's all fucking Alice in Wonderland. You know, you can play with little action figures like you were saying, and it's fucking real as could be. And you know, like when you read books and you're, you know, playing with your friends, you're pretending like I'm a stormtrooper, and your buddy's like I'm Luke Skywalker, and you guys are clashing sticks together like they're lightsabers. You're 100% living a dream, or like tripping. That's living the unconscious. But in order for you to mature and become a quote unquote adult, or just at least, you know, functioning in society, you have to let go of some of that unconscious and start to realize the conscience. So like, or the conscious, not conscience, conscious. And that's just like I said, you have to then, you know, realize that math does exist. You have to realize that science does exist. You have to realize that we are, you know, you can die. I can kill somebody else, and there's repercussions for that. So you have to learn all this concrete shit, which is your conscious you know, behavior, conscious, you know, living day to day, walking around, not hurting people, not hurting yourself. You have to respect that. But at the same time, you have to then tie back in some of that imagination, some of that unreal stuff, dream interpretation, because even little things like that will lead you to a bigger and like a bigger picture view of your entire life, rather than just I go to work 9 to 5, I go home and I do this, and this is my schedule, this is the clock, this is how it all works. You'll get stuck in that rut, and you'll die.
Depressing. I know.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people are stuck in that because they're unwilling to do something like this. A lot of people would probably say right now, we're wasting our fucking time. We're just talking to a screen, and we're talking to each other. Who the hell's going to listen to this? Who's going to give a shit about this? Do you guys really want us to waste all this time? You could be doing something else with this anyway. You could be watching American Idol, Joel. But you know what? That's not what you need to do in order to fulfill your life, man. Because
move to the next level.
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
There are levels,
dude. What was that quote? That's a great fucking quote. Because I just read something and I bookmarked it, and it was by somebody super fucking important.
Can I talk while you're looking or no?
Yes.
Dude, and this, let me tell you that I just learned that from No Booze 30. So
there you go.
I know that No Booze 30 can help people, but I still didn't realize, I didn't know if people would show up. And we have over 200 and some people in that program. And
Are you serious?
If you're, I don't know if you're in the private Facebook group, but
no, I don't have Facebook anymore. Remember, I ditched that shit. Oh my
God, dude, you almost need it for this, but I won't ask you to do that.
I'll check out. I'll have Rachel get in there and I'll check hers out.
Please do, because people are in there regulating the group. I thought I would have to be the one facilitating.
Yeah.
People are just self-regulating, and they're sharing, and they're in it, and they're excited. There's some guys like on day 8, and he took a picture at the ocean. He's like, "This program has changed my life. I'm so excited."
Shut up.
And I'm like, so yeah, people will think you're wasting your time. Just like I was like, I don't know if people will even show up, and they're showing up and they're pouring their hearts into it. And It's like, so, you know, and it blows me away. And it's not me. It's because they have, well, some of it might be me, and I want to be okay with that. But like people will do it. And it does matter. And this does matter. And
It
this is
does.
valuable to
Yes.
somebody. And people will watch. And thank you for
Oh,
watching if you're
100%,
watching.
dude.
And it's like, I'll
Yeah.
watch their stuff because that's what we do. And
Of course, yeah.
but
Support,
it's hard
support,
to
support across
believe
the
that
board.
people will, it's hard to, without ever doing it first, because you'll say,
Mhm.
oh, if I just talk to a screen, nobody's going to watch it. No, people will watch it. Your story will resonate with somebody, and they will find
Somebody,
comfort
a lot of
in
people.
hearing that you are going through similar stuff.
Yeah, good or bad. It
Good or
doesn't matter
bad.
if it's good or
It
bad.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
be good or bad. Like, that's why I've been, if you notice my posts lately, I'm like, I say, I'm so proud of myself.
Mhm.
I am so proud that I didn't quit. I'm so proud that I
Yes.
ran again, because I am,
Yes.
and I don't want to be afraid of telling people I'm proud of myself and I'm happy where I'm headed, because so many
Your
times,
actions
you
are
know,
your actions are predicating that response.
that
Like,
feeling.
without the action, you wouldn't be saying that. So
You're
like,
right.
I think everyone needs to realize that you can plan till you're blue in the face, you can talk till you're blue in the face, but until you start, the action, like that dude taking the selfie on the beach, he's not just going through the motions, he's literally doing what you're saying, because in that book or in your guide here, it says, take that time and take that energy that you used to spend drinking and go do something fucking epic. And that's what that dude did. So he's listening. He's actually putting your words into action. That's why it works.
That's so
People have to
cool.
do the action. The
You're
action is
right,
the
dude.
important part.
And the action is what creates that feeling. You're right, because otherwise he wouldn't post, I'm
Nope.
changing my life, or I wouldn't post, I'm proud of myself, because I wouldn't have
Right.
anything to be proud of. There's plenty to be
Yes.
proud of,
There
but
are
in the
plenty to be
moment,
proud of. Right.
you can't say, oh, I'm proud I graduated college, however long ago that was. Truthfully, it was only a few years ago because I finally did it. But
Still.
yeah, but it's like we don't say that. In fact, I would
Right.
be scared to say, hey, look, I just graduated. In fact, I am going to find my diploma, and I'm going to do one of those posts, because it was just like
Yeah,
a year or two ago that I
for
finally
sure.
finished it. But it was
Say it's
like,
never too late.
it's
Never
too
give
late.
up.
Never give up. I mean, it was 30, it was 30 grand in debt I probably shouldn't have taken
I'm there
on,
too, bro. Yeah.
but
I'm just about done with it. I got about 4,800 left or so, but I had about 30, I think it was 33, maybe something like that. $33,000
yeah,
of debt
that is
too.
about right where I'm at. And it was like,
Yeah.
sometimes, but that was for me. I needed that. It was for my
Oh, I
mom,
did too.
you
Well,
know?
my mom told me to F off after I failed out of Harper. And she's like, I told you I'd pay for it. But if you shit the bed like this, you're on your own now. If you want to go back to school, it's on your dime. And I'm like, okay. So then I went and got a job at, a distribution for Miller for beer.
Yeah.
And
Broke
I
my
worked
back.
the night shift and shit, broke your back. Yeah. So I mean, like, just that,
Broke your back.
those types of things though, put it back into perspective. I'm like, by all means, I'll take on $33,000 worth of fucking debt, because it's either that or me trying to work, some sort of labor job, which now I can't do. And I'm going to be fucking crippled by 45.
Would
I'm
you
not
do
doing
that?
that.
Would you do that to your child? Would you say what your mom said to you?
Well,